Okay guys, so we are back with some more Star Sailors. We have a lot to get into in today's video because this is the final test before the official release. I want to give some constructive criticism, but of course showing you guys some of the hype stuff that's coming along with the development of this game. And so we're going to be diving right into it. Now, I want to give a quick disclaimer. If you guys do see me looking down at all, that is because I'm actually playing the game on cellular device. So that is, you know, all within the, confines of understanding that majority of players playing this game are probably going to be playing on mobile and or maybe want to jump in playing on mobile. So I just want to kind of give you guys my raw and just kind of uncut thoughts on how the game feels on mobile, right? Now, I will say, I just want to give the disclaimer too. This is a Note 10 I'm playing on, so the graphics actually don't look bad at all. They actually look a lot better than they did even from the last test. Obviously, there's bugs and things like that to expect with a test, but those are all things I'm assuming that would be hacked out and hashed out, I would say, before the official release, right? Now, if we actually jump into where my characters are at the moment, right now, I have 3 of the classes unlocked. We have the Enchanter, we have the Cleric, and we have the Swordsman unlocked. The Swordsman obviously being the first one, and the Cleric. Now, with this, of course, we're going to talk about this and come back in the overview that I'm going to be doing. But just as far as the other units that I've been investing in, we have Nina, who is the current rate up unit. We did also get her memory piece as well. Actually, it's really, really good. I was actually lucky enough to get one for my MC for the Swordsman, so I actually equipped that to him as well. And so yeah, it's really, really cool. Now, also on top of that, we've been working on Caroline, who is the free 3-star assistant partner that you get for just playing the game. She was actually added in this specific test. We also have been working on Iron because I wanted to see how they enhance the role of the tanks, which was another thing that they said they were working on to have more of a defined role in the game. And then, of course, we've been staying true with our healer that was just honestly kind of good even to begin with, Dora. So she is the other assistant partner that we've been working on. Now, we haven't worked on anyone else. I'm going to talk about that, so wait for that in a second, right? But other than that, let's actually jump into some combat real quick, because I want you guys to kind of see like how the game looks, how like kind of the dimensions have shifted and changed. And if we go over into the Descent raid, this is currently, I would say, like the hardest content in the game for you to like be trying to attempt outside of like some of the higher daily stages for you to like get more EXP and stuff like that. But if we go in here, we're just gonna enter, and we're gonna actually bring our Cantor hero. And of course, Iron, Nina are all going to be Earth attributes. So it just kind of worked out that way. I did not do this intentionally. And then the monster or the summon that we're bringing is actually Silvertail. This was one I just crafted. I liked her ability. So yeah, we're going to be going in with that. Now, the main thing is that I think at face value, when you're like first jumping into the game, everything feels like it's just auto battle, right? But I think that this is definitely one of the first windows where things kind of shifts a little bit. And it's like, yeah, you could play this on auto, but you also just want to kind of be mindful of like what you're doing, right? Now, we start out with about 7 SP. And that's something that like is kind of like the general baseline based off of what your gear may be on your characters. There's like different gear sets that can affect that, by the way. But with my Enchanter, what I really like about this class is that it's going to allow me to be able to buff, right? So if we actually go back real quick, let's go back and hold down. It says grant recovery and decrease damage received to a single deployed ally, and then grants Mother Earth to yourself, which basically is going to make it up to it's a stackable effect that you'll be able to take advantage of. But I think what we're going to actually start off with is the Inner Resonance, which grants attack and increases defense to all deployed allies. So we're going to go ahead and select that. We're going to go over to Iron. Iron has his own buff as well, so he's able to taunt. So we're going to go ahead and taunt the boss here. So any incoming damage, if it's not AoE, will go to him. Then I guess we can go Gray Zone over here. Dora, do we want to go power up here? Yeah, we can go with power up. I actually don't think we need to do anything with her technically. So we'll just let her rock. I think she'll just do a regular hit. We can go for the Fiery Slap, which is going to decrease the damage being dealt to us. So let's go ahead and do that, and then let's hit battle. So A lot of decisions can be made, obviously, if you put it on auto, but I like the fact that I'm able to kind of like dictate what I'm having to deal with, right? Like that's kind of the biggest thing, and I would say kind of the strategies with the game is that you're not just allowing the auto to make decisions, because the auto may not necessarily make the best decision for you to not die, right? So here we go. We're gonna go ahead and just to kind of show you guys how it works on auto, I'll put it on auto so you can kind of see, so it kind of speeds it up a little bit. But yeah, we kind of have everybody just kind of going in and attacking. Dora, oh my god, Dora is just really good with the heals. Like I'm telling you, in this fight specifically, you get hit so hard. It's kind of cool. I'm not gonna lie, it is nice to get hit that hard because I feel like a lot of the other content, you're able to kind of sustain a little bit until it's super out of your level, right? But with that being the case too, Nina's actually insane for the amount of damage that we can actually get off with her here. So let's see here. I think we're actually coming up to our bard being almost just about filled. So yeah, he's going into his whirlpool. I think here we're gonna actually take it off, because here what we want to do, I think this is a chance to try to go for like a stagger. We can actually let's see here. I think we buffed enough, so let's go with the attack here. Let's do that as well with my boy Iron. And let's go ahead and go hook shot, right? Let's try to heal. Yeah, let's heal Nina. See, and that's what I was saying, and that's why I want to show you guys that, because you'll see like Nina's health has just been dropped. Like the healer hasn't healed her yet. So and then Caroline will actually go with the shoe, and that should be good. Now we're not using our monster just yet. Okay, yeah, there we go. So we got her back up now. All right, and let's see what this does here. All right, so it wasn't too bad. All right, so we are going to take this hit. This is going to be a heavy hit. Not too bad. We survived that. Now we actually get to use our SP gauge charge right now. So that's going to allow us to kind of pop off real quick. So we're going to go ahead and pop that real quick for the overdrive. Okay, cool. Now, what we're going to do here, because we're at max, we're going to go for the protection of the earth. We go for honor the noble. We go checkmate. Boom. And actually, I think we could actually maybe scale this a little bit. Yeah, we can actually scale this a little bit. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go with, instead of that, I'm going to change it over to inner resonance so I can get the attack buff. I'm going to let them do damage. And then what we're going to do, we're going to go power up Parfait. We could try to heal here, but I think we're fine. We'll let one more turn go. And then we'll use that ability. And then we'll also use the monster effect, which decreases crit rate res. So it gives me a higher chance of being able to crit here. And then we're going to go ahead and hit that battle. So let's see what that does for us. Oh, it targeted the wrong thing. That was my bad. It's all good though. It's still gonna hit the main boss at least. But watch how much damage we're gonna get with Nina. Boom, right? And we can actually get that a lot higher too. So it's actually pretty good damage. We go for the break hit here. So yeah, we're actually kind of cooking here. Now the other thing is too, is because we didn't use the all the SP on the MC or the enchanter version of the MC, we're gonna be able to actually go in with that now. We can use this again. Now keep in mind, we do have caps, right? So you can't just like spam it, right? Like you have to be aware of that. So if you're looking to like just try to ult yourself, like, or ult like the boss to death, I think we were able to in the last test, but they since have changed that. Now we can go for the heal here, and then we are going to go for the debuff. Let's go ahead and hit that. Yeah, next time I got to make sure I hit that, because I did not. So boom. Let's get everybody back healthy. Throw an entire ship in here. Like, all right, so now the boss is back up. He's a little mad. He's definitely a little mad, you know? All right, so here we go. Now, mind you, this normally fights don't take this long, but this is a much harder fight. So let's see here. We're gonna go. Oop, oh, wrong one. Go back. Let's go with the. Are we resetting that? Or are we going to go strong will? Let's go strong will this time. And let's use strong will. I don't think we actually really need to worry about that. Yeah, let's just go the resonance again. We got to go basic because we need SP gen now. Let's go boom for the gray shot and support heal. Okay. Or is this just auto? Okay, yeah, I think that just activates. So that okay, I think we're good here. So let's actually just do this. Boom. And I don't think we have any more for that either. So yeah, we'll just go battle here. And that should at least allow us to kind of take some more hits. I think we may be good though for the rest of this fight. Unless this hit just depletes us, so which it might. It just might, because it's a whole tsunami. Woo! I actually don't think I've been in the fight long enough for it to have hit me. That was the first time that's actually hit me. Yeah, we need to get we need some milk here. I think we do heal though a little bit, and at least we're going into our next overcharge because then I'll allow us to actually get through this. All right, cool. So we healed at least one. Hopefully my tank can survive. I don't think it does damage, or at least a lot. Eesh, woof, that's close. All right, so here we should go into overdrive. I'm almost certain we do. Yeah, we go into overdrive, boom, and then I think everybody gets the ult here, so this should be a clean finish. All right, and nice. So at least the AI here is clutching it for us. It's actually not bad. It's really not bad, but I like to play manual on like these harder fights just in case. So boom, a little over 6K there, almost 7K damage. And so we were able to accomplish that and beat that just fine. So that's actually a pretty good fight. Pretty good fight. And that kind of gives you a rough idea of like some of the elements of gameplay and stuff like that. And it's really cool. Again, there's a whole bunch of other characters that you can use as well. But that's going to be gatewaying us into the other functions in the system. Okay, so now that you guys have seen what the combat and just kind of how some of the dynamics have changed, especially with the raid boss, which I think was one of the big pushes that they were, you know, really emphasizing on changing, I want to actually dive into a lot of the content that you have to do, right? Now, obviously, when we're talking about like layers, you have like your story, you have adventure, you have the special battle, whereas, you know, we just did the raid, you have your event there. You also are going to have your search, which is going to have gold search, EXP, memory, etc. You have your origin, which is for skill books. You're also going to have the shadows, which is going to be for shards for characters. And then you also have your summon contracts, which is for monsters. And then you also have the conquest, which is for gear for characters. All right. Now, I want to talk about all this stuff because like the biggest thing is that when we go and we look at the characters, there's a lot of layers to investing into a character. And it's like, what is like the most important thing, or like, what should you really be leaning into this early? Now, number one, before like we even get into that, let's actually talk about this real quick. The event shop, okay? The event shop, I have basically bought majority of the most important stuff that you need to buy, but the event shop is going to house like a vast majority of the more important things that you need. And one thing I will say, like, I mean, from the EXP for leveling characters to the upgrade stones for memory pieces to skill book mats, universal, by the way. You also have the nature stone for leveling gear. The shop is going to be the most important thing to helping contribute to layering or leveling in these layers of things that you have to get invested to make your characters operate and feel nice and just work properly, right? Now, the big question is it enough, right? Now, I will say, considering that this is an expedited, like, you know, kind of test where I'm like seeing how things kind of feel at like obviously out of the norm rate, right? I will say that I can tell that there are certain like kind of do's and don'ts that you want to kind of avoid. And I think that that's like one of the big things that I was noticing was like, for example, you can actually get a resource that'll allow you to basically craft a random SSR piece for your gear, for example. But the question at hand is, should you do that, right? Or would that be a good investment? Now, if we actually go and we look at the characters real quick, and let's start off with the gear. Might as well start there. You obviously need 5 pieces of gear on every single character. Now, the problem with this, though, is that if you start building too high, too early, you have to now consider the cost at which you're trying to get one stat, right? Versus if I'm leveling an uncommon piece or a rare piece or a SR piece, I'm going to be able to achieve hitting the goal of getting extra substats much quicker than if I was just trying to, like, say, for example, level an SSR piece. Now, what do I mean by this, right? So number one, if you look at this uncommon piece, you'll notice that in order for me to achieve the substats, I have to level it to +6. One thing you'll notice on every piece of gear is it says enchanted upon reaching max upgrade. When you hit that enchantment, that's going to allow you to be able to start getting substats. Now, does it do a character good to have 1 stat or 4, right? I would argue 4, right? Because those 4 stats can be like other additional things, and now you spread this across multiple pieces of gear that could be giving your character more value, right? So that's like one of the things that I noticed, like in terms of currency, that's kind of like a mistake that a lot of players can possibly make. And so I feel like the one thing that I would suggest here is just making sure that players have a more clear indication of how to gear properly, like really indicating like their set bonuses. Like I think like when you go through the tutorial, I think it only makes you like equip like 1 piece of gear. It doesn't really emphasize like, hey, there's set bonuses that you can be aware of. And really you only need 4 of these slots to fulfill these set bonuses. And or you can do like 1 extra slot that just kind of fills in the like a random stat that you may need, right? So like just kind of indicating that a little bit. The other thing is too is like I said, if you're looking at like this piece, this is a SSR, is one of the ones I made. I don't have any additional substats on it yet. And then when we look at like this R piece, it's like 1 level away from being able to do it. Like once it hits +9, then it'll be fully like upgraded. So if we go here, I'll kind of show you this. Right, and we hit that +9, right? You'll see now I can actually get these additional substats. But before then, it's only leveling the main stat. So that's like one thing that I noticed, that like you don't necessarily need to aim high in terms of rarity. You need to actually aim for trying to unlock those substats, and then from there you can start to fine tune and build up, right? So I think gear itself is okay. But I also think like in terms of how much gear costs, like to do a dungeon, etc., maybe needs to be reduced. I mean, I just don't see like how like where all the stamina is coming from, because a lot of the stamina I spent, it was a ton of stamina. A lot of it, majority of it, I would argue, went into EXP for your character, EXP for, not EXP for that, but gold, right? So EXP for your character and gold. And that kind of brings me to the next thing, which is your levels. The main thing that you have to follow is like the beginner, like kind of starter quests. And it all kind of like locks you into leveling or working on specific characters. And I know if the goal is try to get players to play different characters or different roles, you want to allow them the ability to be able to do so. So this is a suggestion that I think has done fairly well in a lot of other games. And I don't think that it would hurt this game at all, because it just gives players that ability to kind of figure out what they want to do. And then they have to, you know, decide to commit, right? Reset events are actually really solid. They allow players to be able to test things out. You can have that up for 7 days, 2 weeks, however long you want to do that. I think that that would actually be excellent. It could either be done via like time frame wise, it could be done based off of X amount of like entries, or like, you know, you could have it for like, you know, you have the ability to reset 3 times or 5 times, however many times you want it to be. I think that that's a great thing, just to allow players that ability to be able to know that if they're farming something, if something isn't working to a synergy, they can, you know, have an opportunity to be able to reset it and reconfigure how their team is operating if they need to. The biggest thing with that, though, is like I said, is that what I noticed is as is, you have to commit. Otherwise, it's going to put you behind, right? Like you start kind of spreading your resources a little bit too thin. Things aren't hitting the level requirements that you need. And then, like I said, it also will start to eat away at your resources. Like you don't want to start taking too many characters to like level 40 and then you're not using them, because that's a ton of gold wasted, a ton of EXP wasted, right? Now, the other thing is too, obviously, the memory piece. Memory pieces are actually fairly easy to level. Believe it or not, they don't really require much. So I don't think this is really going to be too much of an issue. And then even in terms of like dupes and all that stuff, stuff. I've kept everything basically pretty streamlined in terms of like base dupes and stuff like that. So it didn't get too out of hand with like, hey, he has all this extra dupe value. Like none of the units I have shards or dupes into them. They're like base 2-star, 3-star. So they're fine, right? So yeah, memory pieces are actually pretty okay. Skill mats, I don't feel like you're really going to be touching these too much until you do the event, because that's where you get the universal mats. I would not actually go and farm, because this is like the point I'm getting at, is that all of these things just on this one character, whether it's memory pieces, skills, leveling, gear, all are super stamina heavy, okay? Now, that being the case, you have to kind of give some alleviation somewhere. Like I said, where there's the memory pieces, I think was pretty good. But I also think that that could also be another thing that could be incorporated in the beginner missions is gear sets. I think that would actually be really helpful, maybe for like 3 different types, for a tank, DPS, and a healer. I think that would actually help players out tremendously with number one, having some sort of indicated idea or kind of just general know-how on what they may want to focus to build out their characters. And it could be the free characters. It could be Iron. It could be Dora. It could be the Adventure, right? Very, very self-explanatory, but it could definitely help players out with knowing like, okay, this is maybe the idea of what I may want to do. And then it gets them going with some gear, right? I think also too, like, you know, it does hand out the gear like enhancement mats, but I think again, like just making sure that it's properly indicated. Now, I will say the part that's kind of up to players is to make sure you're investing properly. I'll make sure I'll have guides so that you guys don't stray away too far and make those mistakes, because I think that like a lot of things as is, like I said, it's just not going to allow you to invest in the highest stuff without it taking too much, versus like you investing in a whole bunch of stuff, and it actually allows you to progress against the now and not so much of you trying to prep for things that you're not even like able to fight yet, right? So outside of that, that's basically my whole thought process on that, is that I just feel like players as a whole are definitely going to need a lot more access to stamina, especially to clear out that shop. And then from there, I think like even just the expectation of the idea behind like, you know, how much should a player be farming, etc., is really going to just kind of vary based off of like the official release, I think, because it's kind of hard to gauge that all in such a short time frame with just the final test, but I think you'll get a better idea of that when we get to the official release. Now, very last thing that I want to talk about, obviously is a really big one, is the gacha, right? I think that this is obviously the biggest thing. Of course, disclaimer, I know I have a ton of currency for testing purposes, but I actually did not do a lot of pulls. I only did enough to go 1 rotation. And within that rotation, it was the 100 pulls, so that I could guarantee getting Nina, so I could like kind of test her out some. But other than that, I've been trying to keep everything very streamlined, very based, just because I don't want it to be too unrelatable for like the sole purpose of a free-to-play player going through the game over time, right? Now, like I said, with the gacha, the 100 pity is actually really good. The rates where you get a whole percent for Nina seems pretty standard. They do have this mix with the memory pieces as well. So I will say like it's just RNG at the end of the day. Like I had to go the full pity, but you may not when the time comes. So I would say like honestly, like it's fine. I think things that they can do over you know, the course of time is just like what they've been doing, like with the beginner stuff, where they have characters that you can get for free, having events that you can get things for free, etc. I think is going to be really cool. Now, I think the other question that needs to be asked or answered as well is if these characters actually are going into standard, because then that would actually kind of change the need to like feel like you have to pull right now versus, you know, I can get that later if I need to. The other thing I think that's actually really important as well is something that we won't really see until release, but what is the current like currency like accumulation going to look like? Just because that's really going to be the biggest way for you to determine how much can I put towards stamina refills? Is there going to be enough stamina coming in to where I may not have to stamina refill as much? versus how often do I want to pull, right? Like that's always like the typical things within Gacha that I think is really, really important. But other than that, like with the freebie tickets that they've given for the test, you still can dupe up, get everything built. That's like normal, like your 2-star partners, SSR memories, a lot of like lower tier investment you could max out much quicker if you actually invest in that first. And that's kind of like my whole thing, is that I think you have to start from the bottom and then work your way up, not necessarily starting from the top and then thinking you're just going to keep going up, right? Now, outside of that, I will say there are a ton of achievements. There are a ton of missions to claim. Like it's a lot of different things. Even the battle pass, it doesn't have like a price point or anything like that on it, but you do get stamina for completing this, doing the past missions, etc. So that is a way for you to get some extra stamina and some extra pulls. But one thing I will say, okay, and this is considering that we're in the climate that we're in when it comes down to just mainstream gacha and how everything kind of works at this point, is that with us going into 2026 is going to be super imperative. I would implore the developers to take a look at what other games are doing, whether it be, like Chaos Zero Nightmare, whether it be even some of the newer gachas coming in. How can you really, monetize outside of just pushing the gacha? Skins, like designs, like a settings, like for your lobby, like you can monetize that. Obviously, like I've mentioned before, monetizing skins for the monsters, since you're able to summon those into combat. I think that there's so many different ways, from the battle passes to everything else that you could add into the game to really monetize and just making really, really fun content. I feel like as long as the content's replayable, people are having fun, and they're not feeling forced on the gacha, everything will actually go very, very smoothly with this game, and it honestly is going to draw in more people. It's just what I've noticed, at least from all the games that I've had the luxury of being able to work with development teams on, or just being able to just have fun with those games. Replayability is important, and again, I think it is really, really important as well to making sure that the gacha isn't draining, right? Like you want it there for that dopamine so people can enjoy it, but you don't want it to be draining either. So yeah, that's basically going to be my take there. I'm going to have another video, obviously, getting into some more content, just kind of like final thoughts as I, get closer to the end of this test. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. I'm interested, how has your experience been going? I do know you guys may not have had nearly as much resources. So again, this is an opportunity. Let the developers know, if you have been playing, in the comment section how it feels, right? I think it is really important for them to get as much feedback as possible so that you guys can really get a better experience. But like what I can say off rip is that I know there is definitely going to need to be more stamina given so that you guys can, number one, have a little bit more playtime, but then two, be able to upkeep a lot of the ask that the game is asking for these beginner missions and stuff like that. So yeah, that's basically going to be that with this one, guys. Everybody stay blessed, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.